Mm-hmm.
My light's possessed.
Oh, is it changing? Oh, I see it. Oh, shit. I'm backing out now. I'm backing out now. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Take One Podcast, episode 43. And yes, if you know me, I know you're shocked. The title of this podcast is correct. We are discussing the Blair Witch Project tonight. And I had to bring on Marie and Kevin. And I feel honored because I feel like y'all are the Blair Witch, like, prodigies in a sense. And
wow.
And then two, this is the second time we got to hang out this week together. I know, right? Super exciting. So
Very excited.
I messaged y'all last night that I wanted to do this podcast. Scale of 1 to 10, how shocked were you?
I would say I was shocked probably for different reasons. I was shocked that, not that you liked the movie because it's a masterpiece, but shocked that you watched it in the first place and that you took a chance on it. And then the fact that you really liked it that much, that was just, and you made it through.
I was very shocked because I know what you said about found footage, and I totally get that. And I remember, was it The Shining live stream when you said you would give it a shot for Marie? Because Marie's so, Marie was like pressuring you into watching it, and well, we both were.
I've been getting pressured by y'all for months now.
We always bring this movie up, and so when I saw that you sent us the message on Instagram that you were giving it a shot, I was like, holy crap, I cannot believe he's gonna do this. And I was even like telling Mike, I'm like, look, man, don't try to power through it. If it makes you sick, even if you don't love it, be honest about it, because man, that's always such a tough thing, is whenever you love a movie or a property so much and you like try to convince someone to watch it, you're like, are they gonna like it or love it as much as we do? And so there was that trepidation. I was like, oh, I don't know what he's gonna think. And so I cannot wait to hear all the thoughts, man. This is it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I'm super excited to dive into it, and I'm excited to hear y'all's take on it. Although I did hear a lot of your opinions on Marie's new episode, which I absolutely loved. I listened to it on the way home from work yesterday, and it was perfecto. Great job, you two.
Thank you.
It was super
Marie crushed
fun.
That.
Kevin crushed that also.
No, it was good. It was a real good listen, a real good take on found footage, and I know Marie, again, you are the queen of found footage.
Oh my God, guys!
Especially in our group. Kevin said it right. You should be getting your crown in the mail in the next week. So,
ooh, a crown that looks like the twig stick people in the Blair Witch. Can you imagine like a crown of that?
Yeah,
ooh,
that would be sick.
Like a mesh between Hereditary and the Blair Witch kind of crown.
Yes,
that would be
and
sick.
Christ.
That would be interesting. Very interesting. So before we dive into the Blair Witch Project, I know I saw you guys on the Shining watch along, which was absolutely fun. I thought that I feel like our watch alongs get better and better every time with every episode, and it was just such a good episode. I had so much fun. So if you haven't been able to see that, head over to my videos, my live streams, and check that out. It was super fun. But I kind of want to, for those who did not get to see that, kind of talk to you all, like, see what y'all been up to. So Marie, I'm going to go to you first. How have you been? Because you personally, outside of the live watch alongs, I feel like it's been forever since you've been on my actual podcast.
It has been forever. When was the last time? What did we talk about? What was it?
Probably, I don't know. That's a real good question. That's a real good question.
I think it was top 10 horror movies, maybe.
That's a long time ago.
Was it that?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. I just, because we were supposed to do the top 10 rom-coms, and I had to go buy this brand new expensive ass mic and all this other stuff because my sound was just jacked up and it was bothering me so much. You know how like you re-listen? I don't like to re-listen to a lot of my podcasts, but like when I'm editing, I like check to make sure the sound's okay in certain parts. And you know how like when you go back and you like critique the hell out of yourself? At least I do.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god, it
It's
was
the
just
worst.
like it was. Kevin had to at least get 90 messages from me, be like, "Yo, can you hear this crackling noise? Yo, can you hear this crackling noise?"
I'm the
Tell me,
same
can you
way
hear
though.
it?
I'm the exact same way, man. Oh man, yeah, it's tough for me to watch myself and listen to myself because I'm always like, dude, what are you even talking about, man? Shut up, man.
You guys are. You guys are always great. Shh.
It's the truth. Oh, Marie, here's what I want to say. I was thinking about this on the way home. As soon as your y'all's podcast wrapped up, I was like, Marie's a damn good fucking host.
No.
She is.
You're a really good host. I'm serious.
She won't credit herself at all, and she'll be like, "No, I'm not," but she is.
You are.
Hosting's hard, and Marie can do it.
No, man, I just am not a natural. I like to do this and like talk and stuff like that, but I just feel like I'm not a natural like leader host. Like I'm more like I'm along for the ride. Like I'm more that type of person. And I kept being like, okay, I need to ask questions, right? I need to do this, and then I didn't even thank Kevin properly at the end, and I felt so bad.
I think you did thank me. It's better than whenever I had Marie on our podcast.
I remember that.
I was like, Marie, tell people who you are. That was how I introduced Marie, like a freaking idiot.
It's just so funny how we critique ourselves because I remember that conversation. I asked Kevin how the episode went before it was released, and he was like, "Oh man, I thought it went really good, but I just really wish I could introduce Marie a lot better than I did."
It's trash. It was straight buns. That was terrible.
But I had to tell you that, Marie, because I thought you did really, really good. And I just, we all know hosting podcasts, like it's super hard and stressful. Like, are you pacing it right? Does it sound good? But it flowed really, really well, and I really liked it.
Me too. Thank you very much. And it was funny because after I edited everything, because Kevin and I talked for like 2 hours and 10 minutes, and I cut almost like an hour out of it, and I was just
nice.
So it's like the pacing was good, but we went off. Like we were talking. I know much Blair Witch stuff I had to cut out because we just kept gushing about it over and over. That's what today's for. Did. That's what today's for.
I know, but I'm glad y'all did, and I can't wait to talk about it today. So if you haven't listened, head over to Marie Plays It All right now. You drop every Wednesday, correct? I want to make sure I get that right.
Yes, on the Not a Strong Start YouTube and Spotify.
Absolutely. Y'all did great. Absolutely. Oh, what are we drinking on tonight? I know we talked about it before, but what are we sipping on?
Kevin.
All right.
The responsible one.
Yeah, I'm the seltzer guy. I got me a little brand called Polar Lime Seltzer. It's so good. That's what I got.
It looks like a beer. Like it looks like a beer can.
Yeah. It does.
Very aggressive, like Polar. Like it looks kind of.
Well, maybe it's supposed to be like we're polar, so let's be polarizing. Let's make our brand polarizing.
Yeah, probably. I go through like a case every 2 days.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, I gotta find a seltzer that I like because if I can find a replacement for soda, I would be happy. I'm just not the biggest water guy unless I'm like active. I just can't drink water like I see like my coworkers have like walking around like with a gallon of water. I'm drinking this all day, and I'm like, I would puke.
Yeah.
Like I just can't do that. I'm sorry. It's not like I hate water. It's just like water to me is just like there. Like, why would I want to drink water when I can go get me a nice Coke Zero or an energy drink?
Or even like a flavored water, anything other than just water.
But I gotta be better about it because, man, they say your water's made up of whatever percent of your body. I can tell you mine's probably in the negative. Being honest,
negative. You're just
has to be.
Like,
has to be. It's filled. Yeah, it's filled with alcohol and Coke Zero.
Yeah,
that's all.
Hydrating you.
Yeah, I wish they made a diet caffeinated free Dr. Pepper. That'd be my go-to. I can't have caffeine, and the only non-caffeinated soda is like Diet Coke. Maybe.
Yeah. Well, they all say soda's bad for you, and listen, I'm sure it is, but I lost a lot of weight when I decided to like cut out regular soda and I stuck to Coke Zero. Like I did, I did okay with just drinking Coke Zero. So maybe Coke Zero is not as bad as some people say it is. So, Marie, what are you drinking on?
I made a old fashioned because I wanted something warm and cozy because we're talking about the Blair Witch and like fall time and like leaves.
Oh, that's perfect.
So I made an old fashioned with Blanton's bourbon. It's a bourbon old fashioned.
Is it possible to make a dry old fashioned, or do you have to have the liquor for it to taste the same?
I would, because the only thing in it is like simple syrup and bitters and then the bourbon.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know how you'd make a dry one. You'd have to find, I don't know if they have like.
Every time I go to a restaurant, I'm like,
bourbon.
I'm like, can you guys make a dry old fashioned? They're like, no. I'm like, okay.
No. Okay. Kevin, what is your favorite dry drink?
I actually had a dry old fashioned in London, actually.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
London.
Just drop that on you guys. I had it in London. I went to an Indian restaurant called Dishoom, and it was the best meal I've ever had. And they had a big alcohol cocktail menu, and most of them you could have dry. And so that's it would be that one. I miss it.
What was it made out of?
I have no idea. I can't remember, but it was so good. So good.
Interesting.
They said it was a dry old fashioned, so it counts as a dry old fashioned. Whatever's in there is in there.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Okay, so let's go ahead and dive into this movie. I want to kick it obviously over to you first, Marie. And
me?
Yes, of course. Don't sound shocked. Come on. I know you don't have your crown yet. It hasn't come in the mail, but it's coming. Okay.
Like, do I have a crown somewhere?
I mean, come on. Hold up your right arm again.
I was about to say, hold that. Yeah.
Oh.
Boom.
Yeah. It says it all right there.
Yep.
That's my baby.
That's my crown.
Talk about the first time you saw this movie, if you can remember. I feel like you definitely can.
Not really. I'll explain. Okay. So I remember the first time ever seeing it I was in my parents' house, in my parents' bedroom, and it was on TV, like on one of the movie channels. And I like started watching it like middle way through. And then I remember the part with the kids banging on the tent. And to me, that's my favorite part in the whole movie. And to me, I was just like, oh, like that's spooky. And then I couldn't sleep from that little bit. And I was like, damn, that movie really got under my skin. And then I don't remember when I watched it after that. But then I've watched it probably, I don't know, 4 times, 6, 7, 10 times a month for the last like 3 years though. So I don't remember the first time. I wish I did.
No, it's okay. I know there's a lot of movies I don't remember watching for my first time. But what about you, Kevin? Do you remember the first time you saw this movie?
I think so. Either you or Marie asked me, and I was like, I can't remember, but I really tried to remember after that. I remember the first time I heard about it, my Uncle Gary. I was at my Nana's house. And,
them damn uncles, man.
And
the best.
He was just not about that movie because it was at the theaters at the time, and we were asking about it, or somebody did, and he was just like, oh, that movie's terrible. F this, F that. And it's this shaky cam. It's awful movie. And I think I watched it for the first time at my buddy's house. And their house is like a 2-story house, but it's down this long gravel driveway. I mean, we all live out in the country here in North Carolina. And I remember their house is really tucked back in the woods. And I think we all watched it in their living room. I remember like the big kind of rocky fireplace next to the TV. And so I want to say it was there. And it scared the crap out of us because we watched it at night and they're way back in the woods. And I think that's when it was, but I'm not for sure. But I remember, I'm like Marie. I usually watch it, I would say a handful of times a year. But here recently, I've just really wanted to watch it all the time.
Man, I was about to say, like, I can just hear in your voice, like, you've like, I feel like you've really fallen in love with this movie the past few months, it feels like. Because I listened to Marie's podcast yesterday. I swear it slipped up. You said that this was your favorite horror movie right now, or something like that.
Yeah, I think my favorite movie of all time is Scream, but if I had to pick my favorite horror movie, which Scream is, so this doesn't really make any sense, I would pick the Blair Witch Project. I know that doesn't make any sense, but in terms of like believability and the aesthetic, the atmosphere, the feeling, there's so many layers to this, and I just think that's why it's my favorite horror movie ever made. So yeah.
I love that. I love that. I have a very vivid experience with this movie. So for everybody that knows, I am just not a found footage person at all. It's not because I think they suck. It's not because I think they're trash. I don't know, really. I can't sit here and even really answer that question. I am just one of those people who has always had a very weak stomach for things. Like, I can do roller coasters perfectly fine. I have no problem with that. But like, if I go like to the county fair and I would get in like that little apple thing that you spin yourself around.
Oh,
the
no,
Tilt-A-Whirl.
no.
Not doing that. I just could not do that. Like, I would immediately get out and I would be done. And then like, I'm just a big baby when it comes to being sick and being nauseous. So once that happens, I'm just out. Like,
Yeah.
I'm done. I'm done for like the night probably. So like, I remember going to see this movie in the theaters with my aunt, and my aunt has never really been a big horror movie fan. So I was sitting here thinking about it last night, and I haven't had a chance to reach out to her and talk to her about it. And I wish I did today. But I wanted to ask her what made her go see this movie, because she took me with her to go see this movie. So I remember going into the movies, and I remember, eating popcorn, sitting right there with her. Should I have been there with my age? Probably not. Was she getting looked at? Probably, but we don't care. I was in my element. Like, I had already seen, Halloween '78. Like, I enjoyed horror movies, so I'm sure I was excited. I don't remember exactly how I was feeling, but I just remember sitting in the movie theater, and I just remember it came on. And I was like, this is different. And then the next thing, I just remember the camera going all over the place, and I just started to feel really sick to my stomach. And I told my aunt I just did not feel good. So my uncle took me to the bathroom. I got sick, came back, and there was nobody sitting next to us. And I was super small anyway. So my uncle got up and he moved down a couple seats, and I laid down. Laid the other seats down, had my head in her lap, and then my feet on my uncle's lap, and I was just,
oh man,
I could not go to sleep. So all I'm just hearing the sounds of the movie and the and the screaming, and it's just like, man, I feel like I'm missing something great here, but like I just do not feel good. And at that age, I didn't put two and two together, so it had been a long time since I tried to watch it again. And then I tried to rewatch it years ago, and the same thing happened. I got sick, and there's just been other found footage movies that I tried to give a shot, and I just cannot do the shaky cam. I cannot do the shaky cam. I did the one the recent found footage movie that I watched was the Zoom one, Marie, that you put me on. What was that again?
Host.
I watched that. That was pretty good, and I made it through that like perfectly fine. So yeah, that was my first experience of watching this movie, and a terrible experience. And then obviously, however many years later, I met these two fine people on the podcast, and they just gush about it. I feel like every time they're on any of my shows, and man, I'm just like, man, whether I loved it or whether I end up loving it or hate it, I feel like I gotta watch it. Like, I gotta do it. And again, I'm just such a baby when it comes to being sick and being nauseous. I'm like, I'm not putting myself through that. And then I promised Marie I would do it. I would try it, and I did. And yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now.
Which I have to just say real quick, like that is so like awesome that you even consider giving it a chance and you went through with it. Like, I think that honestly that says a lot about like your character, and I mean that you had such a awful experience seeing it in the theater. You gave it another shot. You're like, I can't do it. And then Marie's like, I love this movie. You're like, okay, I'll give it a shot for you. And you did it. And I just think it's cool.
Well,
you made me cry.
Well, I'm honored that you said you'd do it and that you did. But I was trying, because it's so good, and because we love it so much, and because I feel like I'm like, oh, Mike is missing out. I just try to come up with ideas of how to make it easier to watch. And I thought, did you watch it on a smaller thing?
No,
did that help? Like,
so I will say this: I did it on my TV in the pitch black. But I will say that I was like scrolling on Twitter and looking at stuff up and like back and forth. I wouldn't say that but I can tell you I didn't miss anything. Like I know everything exactly what happened. But I just had to try something different. Now maybe next time I go back and I'll try to just phone down everything. Okay. Probably not. Like I probably won't make it through, but I had to try something, and it worked. Like I'm talking about not even in the smallest thing of being nauseous. And I will say probably it's not a long movie, so I would probably say the last 20 minutes I watched with my phone down and did fine, and that's where the real bad parts are. I feel like so. I don't know. I don't know if I don't think I'm better. I just think I got lucky, and I'm glad I got lucky because I walked away giving it a 4-star on Letterboxd, and for many reasons that I can't wait to jump into. But yeah, that was like my first experience with it. But it's crazy because I don't remember a lot of my movie theater experiences when I was super young. There's 3 that I remember. I remember that movie. I remember going to see Like Mike. I don't know if anybody remembers that movie.
Little Bow Wow.
Little Bow Wow. And then I think at a young age, I think that's really all I remember. So the fact that even though it wasn't for good reasons to remember this movie, but I really, and I'm going to follow up with my aunt because, of course, after I watched this movie and I ended up loving it, the first thing I had to do was tell y'all how much I loved it and then jump on YouTube and watch all the documentaries and filming locations and all that. So that's all I've been doing. I feel like the past 2 days and, some interesting things that, I'm sure that we're going to talk about, but, I enjoyed it a lot, and I just want to follow up with my aunt. I was going to say, because for somebody who doesn't enjoy horror movies, was this movie so polarizing at its time where it's a movie that everybody had to go see? Like, I want to ask her that because I feel like watching a lot of the YouTube videos, it seems like that's what it is. Whether they ended up loving it or hating it, I just feel like this was a movie that everybody went to go see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it had a lot to do with that, with the polarizing sense and people either thinking it's scary or thinking it was not, because it was not your typical type of horror movie. Like, I don't think there really was the found footage style in theaters at that time, or if there ever really was. And so I think it was such an odd thing for people to accept, and they were like, why is this on the big screen? So I think that had a big effect. And I also think the other point I'm blanking on,
the marketing,
yes, Mark, thank you, Marie.
Yeah,
thank you.
I got you.
Got lost. Started wandering in the woods, got lost. The marketing, like Marie said, the marketing was out of this world. I've never ever seen a movie market as massive as the Blair Witch, because everyone thought it was real. I thought it was real. It was like the talk of the country, the talk of the world for like weeks. And they had their website, and we all went to look at it, and we were so invested. We're like, what is this? And so I think those 2 things had a big factor in this movie.
Yeah.
Marie, what do you remember? Do you remember when this movie came out? Like, do you remember where you were, like, that? Because I'm sure you were kind of late to that party, obviously, with you having that first watch not in the theater. But do you remember this movie coming out? I know you like to always say you're older than us. So I don't know if your memory is like a little bit more vivid than kind of what we had.
But then also with old age, your memory fades. So
you're not old.
But I kind of remember it coming out. And I do remember how people were constantly talking about how it's real. No, it's not real. It's not real. No, it's got to be real. It's got to be real, because the marketing was so genius behind it, and how they made the websites about the lore and everything like that. And they really pushed it to make you believe that it really happened. And like the actors, I thought, weren't allowed to like go. There's things they weren't allowed to do, right? So that people thought they were dead or something like that. I think so.
Yeah.
So it's like, and back in the day, it's not like you can like look it up like, oh, on IMDb, let's just see what it says. Like, are they actually actors? Like, you just didn't do that. So, and like the social media wasn't there, so you were just left to believe that it could be real or it could be not. I don't know. We'll find out after. So,
I mean, I feel like for the
aspect.
I feel like for the longest time, I always thought it was real, especially for a movie that I knew that I had seen, quote unquote, in the theater, and I knew it was out there. I just always thought it was something that was along the real side, and I just never revisited until like I really got deep in like, you know, the horror stuff and then like the horror community, and then actually looking it up and learning all kinds of things. And you're right, Marie. I believe I heard they had to sign some type of clause that they had to go into hiding. I don't know how long that was for, but I'm just like, I hope these 3 people got paid a lot of money to do everything that they went through, because my God.
I don't think they did.
I don't think they did.
Yeah, I've seen a
They
couple
deserve
interviews.
it.
They deserve everything. They are juggernauts in the horror genre, and cinema, really. And from a couple interviews I've seen, you know, with the success of this movie, they really didn't get paid anything to live in the woods for 8 days and to have all this stuff done to them where they're not eating much food. It rained on them all the time. They were miserable. It was cold. And I think Mike, the actor Mike and the character Mike, he got paid more to go back to do reshoots for the ending, which they never used. He got paid twice as much as he got paid for the entirety of the film, just for like a day or 2 days of shooting the ending, which is insane to even think about.
Because I'm sure he didn't want to go back after everything they had been through. Like asking him to come back, even though it was reshoots. Like, I'm sure he would not want to go back and do that. So, probably, you know, put some little bit more cash in his pocket, and you know, maybe he'll come.
Yeah, I'm so glad that ending, they chose not to go with that ending. I don't know if you guys have heard what that ending looked like, but they had Mike like on some big like crucifix position in the basement, and he's levitating, and it was just very Hollywoodized, and it wouldn't have worked. I'm so glad that they didn't do that.
Yeah, me too. I agree.
Thank God. It would have ruined the whole movie.
It definitely would have. So I want to dive into each of our overall thoughts of the movie, and I'm gonna let Kevin or Marie go first. Obviously, y'all can decide between yourselves.
No, it's kidding. You go, Kevin.
No, go ahead, Marie.
No, you go. No. Oh, God.
All right, Marie.
Oh, God. Okay. My overall thoughts of this movie. Well,
anything and everything you want to say.
Okay. It's probably my biggest form of comfort when it comes to horror movies. And I don't know if it's just the fall setting. I don't know if it's just the pacing. Everything about it is just like, there's no music. I love, oh God.
Yeah.
It's just all this, it's natural. And the acting is so absolutely perfect. I'm just watching Mike back there. He had to learn how to be a sound guy to do this movie.
Yeah. They had like a day of training, basically.
Yeah.
A day of training.
I know. I just think that it's like, it's art to me, basically. It's everything that could possibly be perfect in a movie or in anything that I love ever. This movie is, and it has.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
Like Kevin always says, the sound design's perfect, right, Kevin?
It is. It's so perfect.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. I think I appreciated this movie a lot later, after it was released. I'm glad that I watched it like when I was like a little bit older and not like just when I was a kid, because I feel like I appreciated it more, because I was like I was into horror already when I watched it, and I was just like, wow, this is like something that I've never experienced. And then it opened the doors for found footage to be. It wasn't the first found footage movie ever. I watched a found footage documentary, and like these people were making these other movies, and the Blair Witch and was being made at the same time, but the Blair Witch came out first, and it kind of stole all the freaking thunder away from and then they were like, oh, these movies are the Blair Witch copycat, and they're like, no man, we were making our movie at the same time. But to be fair, even if they did come out first, nothing could touch the Blair Witch Project. And I've seen like, what was it? Okay, now it's more. Now it's like 64 found footage movies, and it's just that's the one to follow, and like nothing will ever beat ever.
Well said.
And all
No,
the
nothing will ever
all the
touch it.
behind the scenes, no, and all the behind the scenes stuff, like how they didn't know certain things were going to happen. They didn't know certain people were actors. They
Yeah.
didn't know what each other was going to say. So much improv. The fact that they gave him less food, it's just everything about the behind the scenes, the marketing, just nothing like this will ever happen again. Ever. It can't. It can't.
It can't.
It's a phenomenon.
It would never. This will never fly in Hollywood ever again. Now I know this was like an indie type of film, but if you would just, with all the union stuff that they have in Hollywood, this would never fly. And this movie works because of all of the stuff they did behind the scenes. But Kevin, what about you, man? What are your thoughts?
Man, this is the type of movie that gets me really emotional to talk about. Like, I adore this movie so hard. It really, like the fear of it, the sense of fear, it almost reminds me of like when you're alone in your room or you're alone in your house and it's dark and you picture the worst possible thing staring at you in the corner and it feels like it's right about to manifest itself. That's what the Blair Witch feels like to me. It feels like the worst possible thing you could ever picture is watching you and creeping up to get you. And like, that is such an amazing feeling to feel, and an amazing thing to like capture in this little movie. And I've never felt anything like that. And so I think the Blair Witch is just so unique and so iconic. Like Marie was talking about how cozy it feels. Like there is a coziness to it. That found footage coziness. It's got the grit and the grain, but also like I can feel the brisk air of Burkittsville. Like I can feel I can smell the autumn leaves, and I can feel the dampness, and I can feel like the earthy woods residue.
Kevin, I'm getting goosebumps, man.
Like
Stop.
I can feel all of that every time I turn on this movie. I'm teleported to Maryland, and the acting is incredible by all three. None of them feel like they waste a line. Everything, like there's so many quotable moments in this movie by both like Mike, Josh, and Heather. And I think Heather, like what a scream queen, what a powerhouse. Like she really, I mean, they all have their moments, but she really, really carries this movie with her like guttural screams and fear, and she really brings it, and that just like transcends the horror and transcends this movie. And then you have all these scary moments where you just hear stuff, the sound design, you hear the children, you hear the cackles, you hear what you think is your friend screaming for his life, and it's not what's out there screaming, mimicking his voice. That is so scary, what you don't see, and your mind's making up all these things. That's brilliant. And so I just think this movie is a masterpiece. It's a masterclass in psychological filmmaking. It's a pillar in the horror franchise and in cinema. And so I want to marry it. I love it. I love this movie. I could talk about it for hours.
I would propose this movie, get down on one knee. They did so much. They did so much with so little, and it feels so full, and it feels so it's just as quality, man, over quantity. This movie is just the perfect example of that, and that's what you marry. You marry that. You marry this movie.
I love hearing you guys talk about this movie.
We love it so much.
Gives me goosebumps, makes me smile. I would say for me, The Shining is the best and my favorite psychological film I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. If you told me that I would come on here 3 days after watching that movie and say that the Blair Witch Project is the second best psychological movie I've ever seen, I would cry laughing is what I would have done, because I wouldn't have believed that. I'll tell you, I told you how I watched this movie in the dark, even on my phone. I was very scared. I felt like what these three actors were able to do, as far as, I mean, you described it perfectly, Kevin, with Heather and her screams that just felt so real. Every time she screamed, I felt the vibrations in my bones. Yeah. Like, I felt that, and I felt how genuine these three were, how genuine the overall film was. And it's crazy you explained the bedroom thing, because I was in my bedroom in the pitch dark watching this movie, and I don't know if I thought about the whole somebody in the corner thing staring at you,
no.
but I did feel a sense of fear that I don't feel with a lot of movies. The Shining and the original It are the ones for me, and now the Blair Witch Project are the three so far that I feel like if I watch in the pitch dark, I get goosebumps. And I don't want to say I'm scared, but I'm scared. You know what I mean? It was just a lot scarier than I anticipated it to be. I anticipated going into it, I'll be honest, not liking it, let alone making it through. And then just being able to watch all the behind the scenes stuff afterwards, and when they went to the town and interviewed the town folks, and how all of the people in that town had no idea what the hell they were talking about. I know the girl with the child. I've watched interviews of her saying that nobody would do an interview with them,
right?
Because nobody knew what the hell they were talking about. So she made up something on the spot, and I just thought that was so damn cool. But
and
yeah,
then her kid going no makes it so incredible. It's crazy.
And what's crazy is somebody points this out. Right before the show, I was watching an interview with them too, like a recent one where the baby's all grown up now. She's a teenager, I think. And they were interviewing her in the same spot, and they pointed this out.
Gosh.
The crazy thing about that is that baby is screaming the entire time they're talking about the Blair Witch Project, or the Blair Witch. But when they're done talking about the Blair Witch and start talking about other stuff, the baby stops crying.
Oh,
it's so
that's just eerie feeling. Like, man,
there's little subtleties in the movie that really, really are scary as well. Like that little child just going no and trying to shut her mom, like close her mom's mouth. That is perfect, and that does so much for the energy of that movie. With everything else going on. I love that. I love that behind the scenes detail, and I love that moment in the movie.
I'm just gonna lay right here. Tell people to come find me under this tree. That's exactly what he's saying.
Yeah.
Like I remember. I know I just watched it, but I don't know, man. This movie, it's it. Like I really like this movie a lot.
Yeah. Does that make you just?
I just want to hug, do like a group hug right now.
Yes, we need a group hug. Yay!
And I'm happy. Like that's what I want. And I say this all the time. Like I don't want to watch new movies, whether in the theaters or ones I've never seen before, and be like, I want to go in hating this movie. Like I don't do that. Like I want to love it and love it as much as y'all do. I don't know if I love it as much as y'all do, but it's a very good fucking movie, and it's a scary movie. And I don't say that about a lot of movies. I don't think there are a lot of scary movies to me, and the Blair Witch Project is a scary movie for sure.
I was taking some notes while you guys were talking, just because I have to say, when you said Heather was a scream queen, it's like, why is she never put in that category?
Why is this movie never put in any category?
Exactly. It's like they make it like a joke. Well, I remember when it did come out on Saturday Night Live, and everything was parodying the snot and everything, and those scenes. So they kind of made a joke out of it, but it's like that's one of the best scenes in any movie ever.
It's iconic.
Yeah.
And she deserves to be put into the scream queen category.
I also think one of the cool things about this movie, and it's I know I say this a lot, no matter how much I love a horror movie, I do feel like the runtime can overplay itself. And this is a perfect 82 minutes. I believe it's 82 minutes. It's perfect. It reminds me of movies that we love. Halloween H2O, perfect runtime. Scream. These movies are a perfect runtime. Not too long, not too short. It's just done so well. I don't want to walk in woods again right now. I can tell you that. Marie, what part of the movie really, without saying the entire movie, really, really sticks with you? Like, what one part, really just does it for you?
Definitely the kids and banging on the tent.
Yeah.
Like that, I know. I don't know if that's a spoiler. I mean, this movie's so old. Like, I mean,
Oh no, this is all
but, like,
spoilers. All spoilers.
That was the part that stuck out to me the most the first time I watched it. That was the part that really got under my skin. I'm getting watery eyes talking about it. I'm gonna get a little choked up just because you don't. I just never expected to hear the children the whole time watching the movie. I'm like, I'm expecting maybe a witch thing. I never expected all these little hands to be banging on this tent. And they sound kind of happy. And I swear when Heather's running away, it sounds like and they're giggling, and it sounds like one of them is saying, "Wait up," like that. Like, I don't know if my mic picked that up, but it's like a kid saying, "Wait up." And that's what it sounds like. And that freaks me out because it's like, if that's what the kid is saying, it's like, they want you to be with them. And it's like, is that the witch luring them? Like, help the little kids and go. But you know what the thing is? It's crazy. And you think about it, like, they were so scared that they didn't think like, hey, those are little kids, we should go help them. They were like, nope, we know it's not. We know it's something else. We know it's something crazy. So to me, that is definitely the part that sticks out the most.
Great scene.
That whole scene.
What about you?
I mean, I think it's that scene, but I really think this movie, like when I think about this movie, why it scares me, why it works so well, is it really taps into all of like the elemental human fears. Like, you know, we get lost, we're alone, we're being followed. There's panic, there's starvation, there's maybe a serial killer, there's the ghost story, there's the children, there's the haunted house, there's the monster. Like, there's so many things that are out there waiting to find you, and it finds you, and it's just scary. It's just scary to think about, like, because everything feels so genuine with this movie, with the lore and them getting lost in the woods and the acting. And so I think it's the fear that feels so real. Like, when I turn this movie on, I really have to be like, okay, we're going back into these woods.
I think I would agree with Marie as far as like certain scene wise. Something, and it's always been that way for me. Something about kids being happy is very creepy to me, if that makes sense. Like, and I say that like when I think, like, if you think like of like Nightmare on Elm Street, the girls jumping rope and singing, it's just like a creepiness feeling to it, and the way, like you said, Marie, the whispering and then the banging on the tent, like, it just gave me goosebumps. And to your point, Kevin, like, I think in my Letterboxd review, I just felt so invested in their journey to get out of those woods. I felt like I genuinely felt their fear. You know, to your point, and I just think that's stuff like that is just so hard to do, and rarely, if ever, happens to where you get those genuine feelings that give you those goosebumps and gives you those, you know, those different types of fears, and it's just done so well. And I harp back onto the acting because when it comes to the screaming or Heather getting very upset about the map, like that right there, like you can hear in her voice how fucking pissed and upset that she is. And it's just not in any point of that movie did I feel like anything felt fabricated or over the top. 'Cause I think you can kind of suffer from that as well, and I don't think this movie suffers from either thing. I just think it's perfectly done as far as the acting wise. Especially all those damn crucifixes and whatever they're called hanging up there behind Kevin. Like, that's just,
oh my god,
that is creepy. And I've always had a fear of getting lost in the woods though, because when I was a kid and when I was like in middle school, all I did was play outside. All I did was play in the woods on the railroad tracks with my friends. Granted, I always knew my way around, but that fear of getting lost in the open woods, come on now, like it's scary. It's scary as shit. Like I love to camp, and I get nervous sometimes camping because I want to make sure I know exactly where I'm going to be, because the fear of getting lost has always been there for me in general, but especially in the open woods. Yeah. Like, come on now, especially for them, but I'm just talking about like for me, if like my phone died, I had no food, like, come on, like it to your point, Kevin, this movie tapped into all of that stuff, the starvation, all of that.
Yeah, I actually got lost when I was a kid, in the woods. I was at my friend's house, and they had like just a big field back behind their house and all these woods, and we just went exploring, and then we lost each other. I got turned around, wandered in the wrong direction, and it felt like my vision started to vignette where I panicked, and I was
Mhm.
like, "Oh my God, I'm really lost." And I can feel that same feeling when I watch this movie. Like you really feel like death is starting to like zero in on you, and it's a crazy feeling.
No, 100%. And I didn't know y'all because y'all talked about this movie a billion times, but never did y'all spoil anything, like even to the smallest a bit. So I had no idea what I was getting myself into. Like I had no idea what was going to happen. The only thing I knew is none of them made it out. That's the only thing
Mhm.
that I knew.
Yeah.
And man, it's just it's amazing. It's amazing. Um, this is a tough question because they're all so great. But who is your favorite?
Oh God, I feel.
I'll,
I don't know.
it's very tough. I'll have to go with Heather because and again, they are all phenomenal. They're all believable. They all do put on a great performance. And again, when you tap into everything that they did to him, as far as like the whole lack of food and all of that, I'm sure a lot of those emotions were very real.
Hmm.
But I would have to go Heather because I think anytime that she especially screamed or raised her voice, whether it was out of the fear or being pissed at one of the guys, like I said, I felt that in my bones. So I'm gonna have to go with Heather for me.
Uh,
No, I was just gonna say that's a great pick.
I
Go
feel
ahead,
like
Mary.
they're all great picks.
They are.
I would go with Heather too. That was a good question because I was like, they're a package deal. But then I'm thinking about like Heather because I think her character progression was the most drastic. I mean,
Yeah.
she was so cocky and like not in a bad way, but she was so cocky and like had such a positive outlook on this whole thing. And she was very sure of herself and what was going on, like a leader type thing. And then seeing her break down to be the most broken one and being so in pain and sorry. And she's the one who feels the worst because it's like her project and this all that. And then seeing her break down so hard, I'd have to go with her because just like she was like three different characters in that movie and she played each of them perfectly.
Mm-hmm. Great. Yeah. I mean, how can you
Yeah.
not pick Heather?
Well,
For
I was just gonna say I think that's a great point to you, Marie, because I think one of the first things that I noticed was I started to see Michael and Josh crack very early, and she remained positive. I think for as long as she could.
Yeah, it's trying to keep it
Like,
together,
yeah, like oh, we're good. We're gonna make it out of here. And of course, they wanted her to stop filming and this and that. And but yeah, I think obviously that's a great choice. But that's a good point about the three different types of roles that she played.
yeah, very good points. For me, this is so tough because they all three complement each other so well, and I love all
yeah.
three of them. Like
Mhm.
this movie wouldn't work without any of them.
Mhm.
I love Josh because he's artistic and he's got a bit of a mouth on him, and he's kind of like the maybe I guess physically imposing one where I would want to get behind Josh. I feel like he would be kind of the one that would take charge if some shit went down. So he's kind of like the toughest one physically. I think Heather's definitely like the alpha and the toughest one mentally of the group. But then, well, back to Josh. Like he's got my favorite line in the movie where they're like broken down and they're all crying, and Josh is filming Heather, and he's like, "I see why you like this camera so much because it's not quite reality." That quote gives me chills every time I think about it. Then he gets in her face. He's like, "That's your motivation. There's a witch, and she's leaving shit outside your door." And she's crying, and he's like lost it. And so I love Josh, and I love that he's the first one taken because I think it really packs a punch. Like Josh is gone, and then I love Mike because Mike almost feels like the comic relief a little bit. Like there's times where before the shit goes down, like the camera's on him. He's like, here we are, we're back at the rock thing, cemetery deal. And it's just really funny. And he's talking about cigarettes and smoking, and then he explodes, but he tries to like reel it back in, and he tries to get the group to calm down and to bond and work with each other, even though he's scared shitless. And so I love Mike. I think he might be the heart of the movie, kind of. And I also love his performance at the end where he and Heather find the house, and Mike's trying to find Josh, and Mike gives a great performance where he's like, come on, I hear him downstairs, and he's running downstairs for his friend. And then he gets knocked out first in that house. But then, like, how can you not pick Heather? Heather, like, we just go on this journey with Heather. Like, I do love that she's dominant, she's assertive, she's independent, she's always in control. This is her documentary, this is her movie, and she's got it all taken care of. And she's leading these interviews and these two guys, and we just continue to spiral from there. We see her mentality and her soul just deteriorate throughout this movie, and then she just brings it with her screams and her fear and her breaking down with why she's filming is because that's all she has to not lose it. And so I think Heather has the most layers, although I really like Mike. So I might go with Mike just to make it different, but Heather's phenomenal. Heather's phenomenal.
Well, like you said, man, not a wrong answer here. They all give great performances. I thought the interesting thing to going just kind of back to the marketing aspect is they all use their real life names for this movie.
I know.
And I know me and Kevin kind of talked about this last night. Heather actually ended up having to change her name. I haven't seen exactly why, but do you want to touch on that, Kevin? Do you know exactly why that is?
Yeah, I don't know exactly why, but I know all three of them, but I think especially Heather, because she's the lead. You know, she's on the poster, she's on the front cover of the movie, she's like the more iconic one. I think after the movie, a lot of fans, a lot of people found her and were maybe, I don't know if they were harassing her. She just got, noticed quite a bit, and is probably tough living in privacy after that. And so I think she went ahead and changed her name from kind of the sense I'm getting with some of the interviews I've heard. She didn't get too much into it, but I'm sure she was recognized and probably mailed or people tried to talk to her all the time. So I'm sure it was probably pretty overwhelming.
Oh, for sure. And what's crazy is how, we talked about this earlier. Why doesn't this movie get the love that it deserves? Why doesn't Heather get the love that she deserves? Really, all three of them get the love they deserve. If you go to their Instagram, I think Joshua has the most followers, and it's only like 3,000 people. Like,
they have Instagram accounts?
Yeah. Oh
my God.
Me and Kevin, you know what's funny about this? Because I was messaging Kevin last night. I'll tell you offline why, Marie, but I was looking at them up on Instagram, and I'm like, that's weird. I figured Kevin would follow him. So I was texting Kevin, and then he sent me, we were talking about it, then he sent me their profile. So I clicked back on it again, and then it said Kevin followed him. Yeah. I don't think a lot of people know that they have Instagram accounts. Obviously Heather, because she changed her name, which I didn't know, because I looked at IMDb and it said Heather. And then I looked at, I just Googled Blair Witch Project cast, and it said Rhea. How do you say it?
I'm not sure. It's like REI, Rhea or Rhea maybe.
Ray.
And I'm just like, that's weird. They literally look like the same two people, and that's when I messaged you. I'm like, that's very weird. But yeah, they have Instagram accounts, and again, I think Joshua has the most. I think his is the only account that's verified, and it's literally it was like 3,000, I think. So none of them are like, which is again so crazy to me, because we all know how the horror genre is. Like, we're obsessed with these people, like we invest in these people, and for them to have so little followers, it's just very weird to me.
I mean, I don't think I ever thought they had social media for some reason, just because of like them not being
thought they were still dead. You thought they were still dead.
Yeah. I thought they were done. But I guess because subconsciously I was like, well, they were pretty hush hush and hidden from marketing and everything else. Did they still remain that way throughout all this time? Did they have social media? So I never thought about it until I saw Heather's name on Letterboxd. I was like, that's not Heather's name. And then I looked it up on Instagram and I was like, oh, there she is. And so then I followed all of them. Yeah,
Send them to me. Send them to me.
I will.
I've tried finding them before, and I maybe found Josh. I'm not sure, but send them to me.
Yeah, I think
Well,
you're following Josh.
And I think a lot of them, well, I know Michael seems to be newer on Instagram because he only has like 4 photos. And I think his first photo was back in 2022. So he hasn't been on Instagram long. It looks like he's into writing and filmmaking as well himself. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I just thought that was interesting because, you brought that up, Marie, as far as this movie just not getting the love that it deserves. I was at I was telling y'all, I was at a convention this past weekend and they had a signed Blair Witch Project with all 3 of them on there.
Oh man, I would love to have that.
I should have sent the picture to you. I don't know why I didn't. It's just, I probably, if it's a movie that I absolutely love, still would have bought it. But as you know, it's just so different buying it and then actually getting them to sign it in person themselves.
It is.
Yeah.
Because like I can get Danielle Harris's autograph for like $50 right now if I want to, but I want to meet her. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's the whole experience. Yeah, I'm the same way. Like whenever you go to cons, they have all these autographs, and I want to feel the nervousness and the excitement of meeting them. Like I want to feel that whole experience. And so I really hope, fingers crossed, because the 25th is next year, and I hope that they come to a few conventions. And I'd be. I don't know if I'd be more nervous than meeting Nev, but I'd be pretty nervous.
What would you say? So I'm trying to think. Like, what would you say? I would just be
I
like,
don't know.
you guys,
listen. That's a what to say is a tough thing to figure out. I can tell you that. Again, as I told you, I dropped the ball with Nev. Like I still really enjoyed it, but man, I just put my foot in my mouth. I know she was like, man, this guy's nervous as fuck.
I think everybody is meeting her though.
I know she's probably used to it, but
yeah, there's a lot of pressure meeting these actors that you really love, like, because the moment's so fleeting. You want to not be nervous or weird, but you're gonna be nervous and weird, and you want to be sure you say something that means something to you and to them, and you're not embarrassing yourself. Like it's a lot of pressure to not like.
Yeah.
And then we also talked about this, Kevin. Like imagine meeting these 3 from the Blair Witch Project, and 2 of them are just absolutely down to earth, but you get to one of them and they're just rude and not, loving in any type of way. Like,
Yeah,
how's that going to rub off on you the wrong way? You know what I mean? Like, so you think about all those things when you're meeting these people too.
absolutely. Yeah.
Anything else that y'all want to touch on the Blair Witch Project? Like, yes. Let's go.
Yes.
Let's go.
I think it's interesting because of how much you want to learn about this movie. Like there's so much heart put into this movie, and there's so much work put into this movie, and everything was so thought out. And like, how often do you watch a movie and think, I need to watch behind the scenes stuff and I need to figure out how they did this and what went into it? Because
really,
it's like,
it's only movies that I love.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it's like, that hasn't happened to me for a long time. It's like when you get like I like to do my food analogies, but it's like when you get like a really good meal and you're like, how the heck did they make this? I need to know what they did. And it's just like, I want to shake the chef's hand. Like and like this movie to me is like, I wanted to know so much about the behind the scenes and like what went into it, because you love it so much. It's like you just want to know like every ingredient that was put in there. And like you, Mike, how you were like, you just watch it for the first time technically, and you right away you wanted to know like what went into it and like all the behind the scenes stuff.
I'm not lying. Like I'm gonna get off of this podcast episode and hop on YouTube and watch more. It's just like that's what I'm into right now. Like I'm into learning all about this. I really want to take the trip up there and camp out there.
Me too. Yeah.
Like I want to make that happen. Fun fact, side note, The Exorcist steps is only 30 minutes away from those woods.
Wow.
Which is crazy, right?
Man, that is crazy.
Yeah.
What a trip that would be.
I was thinking the same thing. Marie.
Yeah, Marie.
You gotta come down. You gotta come.
Marie.
God, you guys know how bad I just wish even just to live in America, things would be so much easier. Like, God.
You say that though. You say that.
No, I wanted to live in the good old US of A since the first time I set foot in there, man. I love it.
I know you did.
God bless America. I love it.
I was gonna say something. Now I'm drawing a blank. I would say it's obviously, I know, Marie, for you, that your rewatchability for this is like every night.
I watched it last night to go to sleep. Yeah.
Man, okay. I have to say, one thing I might disagree with y'all on is the whole coziness thing. I don't know if I get that. Like, this movie is one of those movies that falls not close. It's close to The Exorcist for me as far as.
Whoa.
Dang.
Whoa.
It really, when I say it really struck fear in me, I'm not lying. Like, I felt it in my body and in my soul. Like,
I want to talk about that.
Yeah.
I want to know the scenes that really scared you. Like specific scenes where you were like, "Oh man, I don't like that."
Well, what's crazy is a lot of the whole movie is just so it's just psychological, right? Like, again, I didn't know what I was getting myself into in this movie. I didn't know by the end of the movie if we were going to see a witch, if we were going to actually see something like that on screen. And I love the fact it ended the way that it did, because if it ended the way that Kevin said the alternate ending was, it would not be what it is today. I just think it ended perfectly. But for me, I think what's the first scary scene for me were the kids in the tent, banging on the tent.
God.
Like, that was creepy. But like, even during the day when they were walking around and they come across to the figures in the trees, I thought that had an eerie, very creepy feeling to it. And I know you said they're up still, whether they're from the movie or not, that they're up if I walk in the woods and I see those in the trees, I will shit myself.
I would be so
real
worried
or
I would get
real
lost
or not
in there.
You know what I mean?
I feel like I'd have to see them. But yeah, that's
so. But just like little stuff like that, and then obviously the ending in itself was, I just thought, a perfect ending. In the house again, I'm surprised I didn't get sick, because the house was rough as far as the camera moving whether it was up the steps. And to your point, the realness in Michael's voice when he said that Josh was, I think he said he was downstairs, or was it downstairs?
Yeah, he goes, "Come on, I can hear him downstairs," and they're like,
yeah. That, like, I just that, because right then and there, obviously, up to that point, they're probably going to be done, but then right there's a sense of hope. And then that sense of hope is pretty much immediately waxed, like immediately gone. So yeah, man, I just thought they do a really good job of it just throughout. So those certain scenes really struck a nerve with me. But again, we talked about it to, we can talk about it till we're blue in the face. The performances, they're the ones that make it real.
Yeah.
They're the ones that. Where I get my true fear from,
that's
because
it has to be. Sure.
It has to be believable. Like these, I think y'all were talking about this on your podcast, Marie. Like, it has to be believable, or it's not going to work.
No,
for found footage, one of y'all said
especially
that,
for found footage.
Yeah, especially for found footage. So, in this movie, again, just felt so real to me. Every single ounce and part of it. Never felt fabricated, and I was invested in their story from the beginning. A lot of that had to do with their personalities, how strong-headed, like you said, Heather was. Again, I thought her development, like you said, Marie, throughout this movie was again, believable, something that would
Mm-hmm.
actually happen. Somebody who's strong-headed, and then stuff starts to go wrong, they still try to stay as positive as possible. Probably the last one in the group to be positive,
Mm-hmm.
and then they just break, and that's what happened to Heather. So
I love touching back on the end where Mike's trying to find Josh. What I love so much about that scene is this, like the scene before that, whenever Heather finds the bundle of like Josh's remains inside that little stick bundle,
mhm.
and she doesn't tell Mike. Mike's like, "What is it?" She's like, "I'm just washing my
Washing our
hands
hands
off.
off.
Just
Yep.
washing my hands off. I'm fine. I'm fine." And Mike doesn't know. And so I love whenever Mike hears Josh again. He didn't see what Heather saw, and so he's going after his friend, and like he just goes, and then Heather's trying to follow him, and she can never catch up to him because he's just going upstairs, he's going downstairs. And I love
Mm-hmm.
that at the end, you hear Heather's screams coming from Mike's camera, like the audio is picking up
Mm-hmm.
Heather, so you can hear Heather getting closer and closer to that basement before the witch gets her too. And that is like, fuck, it's so scary.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And then I I'm trying to remember, was the first signs that they see, was it the rocks? Was
Mm-hmm.
that
Like
like
Coffin Rock.
was that like the first that they, like when they
Like
come
the
out?
rock setup.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Was it that? Was that like the first kind of instance they kind of came across? I can't remember.
I think so.
Pretty sure.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, unless you want to count Mary Brown's
I mean, true.
gate.
True.
I want to touch on her real quick. God rest her soul. She has since passed, but she scares me in that movie. And she's apparently like she wasn't hired as an actress. They went to her real house, and from what Heather said in an interview, Heather went inside her house and was filming a bunch of stuff. She's like, "Wow, they really did a lot with the art department." It was actually Mary Brown's house, and so if you watch, Marie pointed this out. If you watch whenever they're at her gate, the gate's wooden and it's got a bunch of sticks kind of twined together, kind of like the stick figures. And she has always scared me. And so whenever I'm picturing something creeping up to get them in the dark, I kind of picture Mary Brown a little bit.
That's gold.
I'm sorry.
I didn't notice that about the gate at all.
Yeah.
I didn't either until like, I don't know, a few months ago. Like it took me years to realize that. And I think they used actual human teeth that they got from like a dental school or dentist for when Josh opened this thing. I think it was like real human teeth that they used. Mike, I have a question. I have a question for you, Mike. How do you feel about not ever seeing the witch? Is that good or bad? Did you want to see it? Or are you glad you didn't?
I don't think the movie would have the same effect if I saw the witch. Personally. Right. So
good answer.
Yeah. Again, I didn't know if we were. And when it ended, I was like, man, that's just, when the camera drops, I'm just waiting for like the witch to walk by or the witch to pick it up. And then,
yeah,
like next thing I know, it just goes off. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't need the witch. I'm glad we didn't get the witch. I don't think it would have worked for me personally, and I'm guessing for y'all too.
Oh, 100%. I love that we don't see it. It's just what our mind and imagination manifest. But I don't know if Mike, if you saw Adam Wingard's movie Blair Witch, which came out in like 2019 or something. In that movie, you see the witch, and it's just that movie. I don't like that movie. It's got a lot of things that don't work for it, but a big one is because they just show you what the witch looks like all the time. It's just your typical kind of like
Hollywood movie.
Yeah, like those weird kind of elongated limbed women kind of a thing, and it's CGI, and it's just too much.
Yeah, I think I saw the picture of it. I think when I typed in the Blair Witch Project on Google, that one popped up, and it had like something up in the corner or something like that, and I was like, yeah that. I'd never hear anybody talk about that one, so I was like, I'm not even gonna bother with that one. Yeah, I'm just like not even gonna touch it. I love the fact that they kind of just gave them a camera and told them to go. Mm-hmm. Pretty much. I do remember them saying like when they were at the cemetery, they were super far, like the directors were super far away, kind of just keeping an eye on them. And then after that, like it was pretty much from the jump, just game on. And like, man, like it sounds exciting, but for those three, it sounds like it was a very miserable time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A very miserable time.
The interviews
made it
I've
miserable.
heard. Exactly. The interviews I've heard is like they taught him how to film and do the audio, and they're like, you know, go interview people, go in the woods. You kind of got your GPS trackers to find your little notes. So the way they went about this, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Marie, but they had like a little, was it a milk carton or it was some type of canister or something where it had each of their.
I thought it was like was it like a film canister or something?
It might have been.
It's some sort of little canister type thing, yeah.
But
I don't remember, but
there was 3 different ones for each person, and they wouldn't share the notes. They would have directions written in little notes, and maybe, you know, Mike gets the map today, or Josh, you start a fight with Heather because you start to lose it. And originally, Mike was going to be the first one to be pulled from the tent instead of Josh, because apparently Josh, the reason why they pulled Josh is because Josh and Heather actually kind of got at it quite a bit with their personalities, and they were tired of hearing Josh and Heather go at it. So they took Josh out of the tent first, which I think works in the film's strength, in my opinion. But I just loved hearing how miserable the experience was, because it always rained on them. There was always like 2 inches of water inside their tent. They were starving. They were cold. And at the very end, whenever Mike and Heather go in that house, they said in an interview that they just broke down. Like whenever Mike gets tackled by the producer, Mike starts to like break down, and the producer's like, not yet, because Heather's coming. And so after the film, after everything was done, they all just like broke down because it was so hard on them, and they all went to Denny's on Halloween. And I just love picturing and feeling what that looked and felt like. I love that little detail about the movie.
Man, it's crazy. Looking at it now, so it's shot on an original budget between $35,000 and $60,000, plus the marketing. I would say probably $110,000 maybe, because the marketing, they just went overboard. Like the movie grossed. Oh, I'm sorry. So the final cost was about $350,000 after post-production, including marketing.
Okay.
And $250 million worldwide. That is fucking nuts.
That is crazy.
That is effing nuts. That's just like Terrifier 2 that shot for $300,000 that made, I think, $18 million. That's phenomenal. But $250 million? Man, that is, I think Scream just hit that. Scream 6. But the Blair Witch Project? That is awesome. Like, that is phenomenal. That's what, again, I obviously don't remember those times, but I just going back and watching like these YouTube videos, seeing lines outside of the movie theater waiting to get in. Like, I need to talk to somebody that went and saw it, and that was like, what was that? Like, what was that time like for that? You know what I mean? Like, I would just love to pick their brain, like, because obviously the world was $250 million deep into it.
Yeah, that's a lot for back then.
Hell yeah. That's a lot. That's a lot.
Well deserved.
Very
well deserved, yeah.
Very well deserved. So I'm guessing this is y'all's favorite found footage film? Kevin, you don't even like found footage, but you always watch found footage.
Whoa.
Marie came at you, but I'm coming at you too.
She did. Yeah. It's funny whenever I'm like, you know, I appreciate found footage, but I don't love it. But like my favorite horror movie ever is the Blair Witch Project. So like, what am I even trying to talk about? Yeah.
It's just funny to me. It's funny. It's funny because Skinamarink, you loved. The Outwaters, you really liked. Whatever found footage movie comes out next week, you'll probably like.
Probably.
You're a found footage guy, man. What is it going to take for you?
Just accept it.
Marie, what do we have to do to get him to admit this?
I mean, it's gonna be hard because for him to be like, you know what, I love found footage film. I don't know where it's gonna have to happen.
She southerned the hell out of you.
Sound like molasses just pouring out of a mouth.
Yeah, molasses pouring out of your mouth like molasses.
I do love a lot of found footage movies.
You do. They're good.
I heard. And so there's one, I'm probably not going to dive deep into found footage, but there's one movie out there that you two disagree on found footage wise strongly, and that's the Bigfoot one, correct?
Yeah. Willow Creek,
Willow Creek. Oh, that's the one Jess was asking about in our group too, right?
Yeah. I wonder if she ever watched it.
Willow Creek. And somebody, Marie, you mentioned, was it Marie? Somebody mentioned actually another one too in the group. Are there 2 Bigfoot found footage films?
That Exists movie. We mentioned it in our episode.
Exists. Yep, y'all did. Yep.
Yeah, they're very different. Exists and Willow Creek are very different. They're both good in their own ways. Exist is directed by the director for the Blair Witch Project, but it feels like Willow Creek is more directed by the director a little bit. No, Kevin really doesn't like Willow Creek.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. It's just funny hearing Kevin on the podcast. He's trying to come up with some positives about it. He's trying not to be a total ass about it.
I know. Yeah,
it's very.
Marie loves that one. And a lot of people love that one. Like I hear that recommended to a lot of people. They're like, "Give me some good found footage recs." And even the Outwaters director is like, "I love Willow Creek," and so there's a lot of love for it. It just. I guess I'm just a hater. It just didn't work for me.
No, you're not a hater. I understand the reasons why you don't like it. And actually my one complaint about that movie is some of the reactions from the man in particular don't feel genuine to an extent. I understand why his reactions are the way they are, but at the same time, I feel like there should be a little more excitement in how excitement or fear in how he reacts. But that movie is very slow build. It's very character building with the couple. And then there's that one scene that's 18 minutes long and it's just one still shot. And they did 2 takes. They did 2 takes of that shot. And then one of the takes, they were both, I think, crying and they like lost it. And they didn't use that one, which I think they probably should have. And they kept this one and said, I don't know if they were like, I don't know if they were like begging, like stop, like what are you guys doing? Because they didn't know what was going to happen around. But I'm curious to see that. But yeah, I love that 18-minute shot, and Kevin does not. But that is all right.
Yeah, I'm just really picky with acting. I'm really bad about that, and it's not like it's terrible. It's not like this feels super fake. I wanted more, and I wish they would have put that alternative take in there instead. I think my favorite part of the movie is at the beginning when they go to the restaurant and they have like the Bigfoot burger. Remember that? It's like in the shape of a foot. It looks great. I'd eat that.
We're all about the burgers in movies. That's pretty much.
We do talk about burgers a lot.
I heard y'all shit on the menu too. I did not appreciate that.
Oh man, that movie.
Yeah, that movie's buns.
That movie's some perfection right there, baby. Some perfection.
Ooh, the burger is, but I don't know. But Willow Creek, I would say we can watch Willow Creek. There's not too much shaky cam, like of course, like near the end there is. But then there's Hell House is a very entertaining found footage movie. I'd say Hell House is entertaining.
Hell House, interesting.
Yeah.
So wrapping up on the Blair Witch here. I just want to say thank you guys for not pressuring me too much into watching it. Just always, anytime you got the chance to just say how amazing it was. And it lived up to it. It was really good. I'm glad I was able to experience a true horror movie for the first time at my age.
Nice.
I'm so happy you watched it and you liked it, man. That makes me feel good.
Yeah. Like a proud father, man.
It makes me feel very good.
I never want to like pressure you. It just, to me, it was more like, oh, Mike's missing out. Like he's missing out on one of the greatest horror movies ever made. I wanted it badly for you, you know? I'm like, God damn that stomach, get some meds. I don't know. You got to watch the Blair Witch.
Got to do something. If I got to put an IV.
Oh, did you smack that cord out, man? You cut out. Can't hear.
Oh no.
Oh no.
No,
We can't hear you. The Blair Witch is
No, we're in Burkittsville.
There, now
can you hear me now?
There we go.
Okay. Man, there's some very eerie stuff happening on this podcast. Marie's light is going crazy. My mic is going out.
I'm next,
Kevin,
bro. I'm next.
You're
I know, I'm like, what's behind you, Kevin?
You gotta watch all sides. Okay, well, I think that's gonna wrap up this episode. We actually made it through the entire movie of the Blair Witch Project that Kevin had behind him, so you got to hear us talk about it, and you got to watch it behind us. Again, a very good watch, very quick watch. Yeah. Any last words on the Blair Witch Project from you, enthusiast?
Kevin?
I think I pretty much said it all. I think by my kind of long-winded, passionate takes, you can tell how much it really does mean to me, and I just love it for so many reasons, and I love the dialogue in it. I think that's another big part why it works. The performances are great, but I think the dialogue is also written well. I was looking at my notes, and I love the scene that I was talking about before with Josh and Heather, where they're kind of going at it and they're breaking down, and then Josh goes, "Are you going to write us a happy ending, Heather?" And shit, that hits me in my soul when he says that. So
yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I just love how this movie makes me feel.
Marie?
Yeah. Yeah, the dialogue's so good. Also, like all the improv and anything that went into that, and like how good everything was and how natural it was. This movie is just like the epitome of like simplistic beauty. It's just perfect. Mm-hmm. And if anyone out there hasn't seen this movie and you're avoiding it for any other reason aside from motion sickness, you got to watch this movie because it's
you got to watch it. Even that.
I mean, if Mike can do it,
anybody can do it.
If I can change, you can change. Everybody can change.
We can all change and enjoy the Blair Witch Project. That is going to wrap up episode 43. Before we log out, please drop what you guys have going on and your socials, please.
Go ahead, Marie.
Okay. You can follow me at MariePlaysItAll on Instagram, and every Wednesday I drop an episode of Marie Plays It All on the Not a Strong Start YouTube channel, and you can follow us at Not a Strong Start on Instagram as well. And sometimes I do joint effort, episodes with those boys too. And sometimes I have other guests on my channel, like Kevin, and then maybe Michael will make an appearance. Yeah. Maybe side both quest. You will be on the side quest. I don't know. Anyways, that's where you can follow me, and it's every Wednesday. I have new episodes. Video games and movies and all that stuff.
Hell yeah. And you can find me on Instagram at WatchHorrorFilms, YouTube, Kevin Ketchie. I don't really have much going on. I'm kind of just waiting for some posters to get in the mail because I might be going to a little convention up near where the Take One podcast kind of lives. And so be on the lookout for that. It's going to be crazy. But yeah, this was a lot of fun, Mike. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad we're here talking about it. Thank you.
So much fun. All right, everybody, I will drop their links in the bio below. Hope you enjoyed the episode, and we'll see you on the next one.